Hey, welcome everybody. So here it is. Here's the game I was talking about in the last commentary. The last game where I showed you, I'll bring up the name tags, where I showed you NesTea in this position and MVP in this position on Shadow Temple, close positions. And I was talking about how well, how well the NesTea's push worked with the early roaches to negate both early Hellion play and to prevent an eventual push from the Terran, a tank and marine and bunker push around this area. So this is the game I was talking about where I saw at Blizzcon 2 where I saw a Zerg getting demolished by such a push, and we'll see how strong it can be really. So let's watch this game from MVP's point of view actually. Or at least let's focus on him more. Because what Sen is going to do is just the standard. So here he just scouted for an Overlord to check if Sen's in the upper position. But he's not. He's in close position of course, but they don't know yet. So yeah, what MVP is doing, it's 13 racks I think, or 12 racks, 13 gas. Really standard for the opening he's going to do, and he's just going to be going into a standard Hellion command center tank push opening. And here we see Sen just taking an expansion on 15 I think, and this is going to be a scouting drone I assume, and pretty soon he's going to drop his pool and then gas at some point and go for probably speed links as we see most Zerg do these days against Terran openings. So nothing very special from MVP except that he's not putting his barracks at the front to wall off, but he's going to rely on the fact that Sen's probably going to fast expand or not play any kind of 10 pool shenanigans. So he'll just use the first 2 or so Marines that come out of here to just prevent any drone scouts from getting in here. But the first drone of course will get in, and yeah, just build an extractor up there to stay alive longer and maybe scout at some later point in the game. Okay, I think Sen's gas was a bit later than we saw NesTea take in the last game. But that's fine for him because he wants to drone really hard, I'm assuming. Because he's not going for any kind of really early roach all in like NesTea did last game. So he's fine with the gas that's a bit later. He needs his minerals for drones. Now we have here on MVP's side there's a reactor finishing up at the same time as the factory finishing. So, and here's the command center dropping. He just was saving up his minerals for making the command center. Now he's going to swap the add-on and produce some Hellions. Nothing special so far. 21 to 19 harvesters for Sen. He has a slight lead on that, placing down a no, it's not a spore crawler, it's a spine crawler, exactly. Yeah, and here the 2 Marines defending the ramp, so no more scouting can get in. And what we see now is that MVP was going for just 2 Hellions, just so he can exercise some space control here. So he can poke in and make sure the Zerg is not free to do whatever the heck he wants, but he actually has to stay here and stay alert and watch out for stuff coming here. So he didn't really intend to do much with the Hellions, just to scare the Zerg a little bit and to prevent him from spreading creep too much. Because otherwise creep would be here really quickly at the Terran space. And now he's just going for standard tank marine play with the tech lab now on the factory. The first tank is already out, the second tank is queued up. There's the second gas, and yeah, the second orbital command is finished. now we see here is an Overlord scout from Sen. He wanted to figure out what the heck's going on in MVP's base, what he's doing. And here's a second Overlord scout, but I think MVP has seen that exactly, and now he floats his command center and actually killed this Overlord. I thought that was pretty neat when I saw that the first time. And now there's something I want to point out. So I think that, yeah, so Sen has seen those two racks and a building, and here's another racks, and he saw the factory. He basically knew that tanks were coming because there's only 2 Hellions here. So he should be expecting a tank push to come at him soon. What is he doing? And I don't really like what he's doing here, so I'll point that out. So he has his upgrade on the way, which is great. So I think with +1 armor upgrade, Zerglings won't get one shot by siege tanks, which is great to have. So that's good. He has a Roach Warren, I guess, but he built it really late. I guess maybe he was worried that maybe MVP is just faking it with the Hellions in terms of he's making a lot more, but only showing 2 of them. So he can, you know, make 10 or something and then come in here and kill all the drones. Maybe that's why he put down a Roach Warren, but then again, he hasn't made a single Roach yet. And then when he floated in the Overlords, he basically knew that, yeah, probably it's not going to be too many Hellions. And so he knows he was free to drone all the time so far. He was able to fast expand and drone up like crazy. So he's at 35 drones already. He knows he's in close position to a Terran, you know, and it's a Korean Terran. They like their aggressiveness. They like to play aggressive. So, and what's he doing? He's currently making 11 more drones. I don't know. Maybe I just don't know the timings. Maybe you can really get away with that. But I mean, that's when you know you have to play a little bit more cautiously because the Terran is, you know, you don't really get much time from the time, basically from the time this push moves out. It's less than 40 seconds. It's less than a cycle of injects. So if you spend all your larvae on a gigantic round of drones, you could be in a lot of trouble. Okay, so that part I don't really think was too great from Zen. Was not too great decision making. But he still might have been fine. But now he's making 4 more drones, which I do not understand because he's already more than saturated. I mean, he only needs 2 gas because he's not right now. He doesn't seem to be planning on going Muta really soon. He doesn't seem to be, you know, wanting to mass roaches. But even then, probably 2 gas. Yeah, maybe he would need a 3rd gas, but that's all. So he has only 2 gas going, and he's at 46 drones. And this is so basically it's 6 for gas, so it's 40 on the minerals. And this is, I mean, making more than this number of drones is not going to benefit you at all. And especially knowing that the Terran is in close position, so you don't get much time to react, so you better build some units up front, especially when you're actually done droning. But, I mean, possibly he's just so in the habit of, you know, okay, you get your 2 bases saturated, and then you can make some more drones because you know you're going to be taking a fast 3rd base, and then you can saturate that very quickly with just by transferring the drones you have, you know, you don't really need at your main and expansion. But in this case, I mean, Sen knows he's not going to be taking a 3rd base anytime soon, because first he has to really make sure he controls this space here on the minimap. Or on the map. He really needs to control this space because as soon as the Terran moves out, there's basically no time for him to react and make units. So he can't just drone like a madman. At least not anymore at this point of the game. Right. So okay, so he made 11 drones. Now he's making 4 more drones. He's investing in 2 upgrades at the same time. All right, so that's a lot of stuff that's not going to help him in any upcoming engagement here. And MVP is just just playing very, very standard, Hellion opening with just very few Hellions, and then going into Siege Tank Marine. I mean, that's so standard, it can't get any more standard, really. He doesn't even have any upgrades for his Marines. I guess so he can make a push at an earlier timing. And that's what he's doing. He's just bringing over the tanks. Now he has 3 tanks, a 4th one coming up. And that's what I was talking about in the last cast, where I said it's so tough on this map because of this this cavern here. Terrans can place 1 tank on this side, and look how far it reaches. You'd have to squeeze all your units around here, so you can actually get to the tank. And then the problem is that all his stuff is spread around here, because that's like most beneficial for the Terran, because you have to run a long way until you can reach any of his stuff. And the siege tanks get a lot of free shots. And these tanks here are protected by this tank, and so he can leapfrog forward. So it's from MVP at this point. It's just, he has 2 gas, he has 1 factory, 3 barracks, 1 not even producing yet. He just put down his expansion. He's at 27 workers. I mean, look at this. This is ridiculous. No matter, no wonder that Zerg tend to get punished in these kind of positions, namely in close positions on maps like Shadow Temple, because they drone like there's no tomorrow. And what for? This is hugely oversaturated, or I mean not hugely, but it's fine if you know that you're going to be playing on 2 bays for a really, really long time, and you have some time to drone up hard because your opponent is busy doing something else. But as soon as on close position like this, Terran are going to push out. They love their tanks, and they're going to put them in your face. So this is what MVP is doing. So nothing fancy, nothing special, nothing unexpected. In fact, it's so predictable. And yeah, so what? And at this point, okay, now now Sen is making roaches, which, well, I don't really agree with this. So usually, or let's see how this turns out, and then we can maybe go over what Sen may have wanted to do differently, so he could have actually defended this push, even at this, well, at this point, that's going to be tough. But I like that he's putting down a macro hatch. This he should have done around, I don't know, 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes sooner. That would have helped him make a bunch more units. Because he's floating 500 minerals. See, that's the problem. Now he's trying to push in, but he's still floating 500 minerals, 300 gas. That's, oh man, that's like 6 roaches, 7 roaches, if he wants to go for roaches. So that would have helped him tremendously. And he's got all these minerals he could have spent on drones, so he gets more of an income, but he cannot do anything with the income anyway, because he's only 2 hatches. He only has 2 hatches. And yeah, 3rd one will take a while to come up. And there's the Terran here. So this is, I think this is really cleverly done now by MVP. He's just, he knows he can contain the Zerg. He just lost a ton of units too, so he's making a bunker. And from Zen, what I've seen in this game is he feels so threatened by MVP at this point that this is already the 2nd time that he sends in a lot of units to try and clean this push up, or this to try to break this contain. And he's doing it for the 2nd time. It's the 2nd wave of units that he sends in there. But every time he's just so impatient. He just wants to break this contain. He just needs to break it. It's like Um, like in my experience from my StarCraft games, sometimes it's like, okay, when you see a bunch of tanks, it's like they're magnets, you know? It's like they're roach and ling magnets for me. It's like when you see them, you think, oh my god, I need to go in there and take them out. I just need to go there and take them out. They're so strong. I just need to kill those tanks. And then what you end up doing is just you convince yourself that you need to go in there, and then you take all of your army and try to, you know, break those tanks. But the problem is you'll lose your whole fucking army because, well, tanks are made to win in fights where you just run into them. So, you know, that's what they're good at. So if you do that, if you do the Terran the favor of running into his siege line, then, well, he's going to be happy, because even if he happens to lose all of his tanks, they'll most likely have done really, really good work on your army. So, yeah. So in this case, I would have liked Sen to just, you know, mass up his units. He didn't really... I think MVP would have been afraid to go further, to really go on the creep here. And especially his tanks, well, they could reach up until here, where they would have been kind of defended. But still, I guess that MVP wouldn't have wanted to go in this far if he didn't need to. That's why he tried to stay up there. So Sen could have just, you know, massed up units, you know, wait for a third wave and everything of his injects, and just push out when he has enough. And he just didn't do that. He was so impatient. He was just so attracted by these three tanks standing here. And, you know, the bunker building, of course, that's scary. But you have to make sound judgment if you can actually go in there and kill these units, because, well, if you can't, you'll just waste them, especially with siege tanks, because once you're in there, you'll get so many shots on your head that you'll have a hard time, or you'll lose a whole lot of stuff before you can get out of it again. And that's what happens here. Oopsie. Okay, he cleans up one tank, and no, he doesn't kill this SCV building the bunker, so the bunker will complete. And I like this. I really like this by... Oh, Miss Rally using 2 overlords. And I really like this by MVP. He's just staying, you know, with 2 tanks on this side. These tanks are really, really, really safe. He's just continuing to produce from 3 barracks and 1 factory. He's macroing up a little bit behind it. At this time, he already has 44 SCVs compared to 27 when he started this push. So he's almost continuously been building his SCV count, which is great. He didn't really need to overcommit at this point to this push. Just, you know, keep it safe, contain the Zerg, try to, you know, exercise some pressure on the Zerg, apply some pressure, and keep him from taking a third. Meanwhile, he's completely safe. I mean, this is so huge. He's completely safe from, at least the way Sen is playing it, you know, if he doesn't choose to go to lair tech and either, you know, bring a Nidus or go for Muta or go for drops. MVP in this case, I mean, look at this. He doesn't have a single unit here. He doesn't even have a wall here. He doesn't have a bunker, nothing. So he can easily get away with this. Just because he cut the Zerg off from or he's blocking any paths that the Zerg would be able to take towards his base. And yeah, so few Zergs actually use Nidus Worms or actually use drops, so that, you know, MVP can just think, oh yeah, he's not going to do that, so I can just, you know, leave nothing at my base. I mean, he would be dead if basically 20 Zerglings ran by here. He would be so dead. But, you know, he can have his peace of mind in this regard, because, you know, who does that as a Zerg? No one does that. Instead, yeah, the Zerg will just try to run head first into these tanks again and again and again, into this wall of tanks, and yeah, it's really good for MVP. And yeah, the problem, you know, Sen, he hasn't lost a single drone. I think he used one to build something. Yeah, probably the hatch here, the micro hatch. So he still got 49. But, you know, when the push started, it was 50 workers for Zen and 27 for MVP, and they haven't really benefited Sen. He's floating 1,000 minerals. He can't really do anything with all of this. He would need even a second auxiliary hatchery here almost, in order to be able to produce all the units that he needs to produce. Yeah. Yeah, so really good, really well done here by MVP. By now he's added on this other axe, he's getting stim pack. Okay, and here now Sen is getting really desperate, because he knows that, you know, if this is going on any longer, he knows that MVP has probably been making workers behind this all the time, and he just can't really take a third base, because anytime he would move his unit somewhere else, then MVP would just go in here and siege up right here or right here and just kill him. And he has no chance really of counterattacks, so he's just getting desperate and tries to go for it. But yeah, I mean, this is probably he already knows that he has lost, because that's another another case of judging how many units you'll actually need to break this kind of thing, or how, you know, making a good call of, with the units that you currently have, are you going to defeat your enemy? Are you going to defeat the army that you're intending to face or not? And Sen has made this mistake, so overestimating his army and underestimating the enemy's army 2 times at the very least already. The first wave he sent in to break this contain, the second wave he sent in to break it, and right now either he already knows he has lost and he's just wanting to go out with, you know, a little bit of firework accompanying him, or he's making this mistake for the 3rd time, meaning that he's really not going to be able to break this contain with just, what is it, 17 roaches? Yeah, 17 roaches, 11 lings, I mean 43 drones, yeah, that's great, but they're not even probably going to kill these 3 bunkers, even if no SCV repairs them. Even probably if no tanks were present, and there's a whole bunch more marines and there's 4 tanks. And roaches really suck against tanks. So, yeah. So I'm just going to assume that Sen just already knows that he's lost, and he's just sending this in to just watch some fireworks, tanks blowing up stuff one last time before he leaves the game, and this is what's going to happen. So this was, by far, he didn't have enough stuff to break this. I mean, still 2 tanks alive. Yeah, he killed the three bunkers, but he lost all of his drones, so even if he would have managed to kill this, well, there's reinforcements coming. Okay, so yeah, this is the other game I wanted to show you, that I mentioned during the NesTea versus MVP game on this map, and notice how different those games played out. In this case, MVP was allowed to, you know, make his Hellions and not be punished for it, and make his Hellions and make his quick expansion without being punished for it. You know, there were no roaches pressuring him, making him, you know, play cautiously or stay in his base or something. And so he was just able to switch into Tank Marine instantly, and just come here and push. With this position, it's just really hard to defend. Sen had never really had any chance of getting to the other side of this cavern, to get a hold of these tanks that were standing on this side most of the contain. And in the first game that we saw, NesTea versus MVP, basically MVP did the same opening. He opened the same way. He had a really similar game plan for close positions on Shadow Temple. But he never really got to the point where he was able to execute that, because right when his first Hellions came out, the first 4 or 5 roaches came to pressure him, and basically busted his front door and brought him huge trouble, and actually killed him. So I think on this map, I don't think you really have to go. You don't really have to go as a Zerg for a really early roach push like we saw from NesTea. I think it can work. I mean, the thing is, by now there's no more close positions on Shadow Temple, but I guess there are some other maps where this still applies. And what I'm saying is, Sen wouldn't have needed to go for a really early roach push on this map, but he could have stopped droning at, let's say, 40 drones, or maybe 35 or something, with 1 gas or with 2 gas. That's plenty of drones, so he could have produced a bunch of links, like 22, 24 links, and the contain would have never even been allowed to begin, because just MVP wouldn't have been able to even siege up against this kind of force already being in place, and behind that, Sen would have been able to just drone up, and just contain the Terran in his base, or at least threaten him that whenever he moves out, he's going to need to be afraid of counterattacks, of his force getting intercepted, of reinforcements getting intercepted, and none of this happened because Sen just wasn't prepared. He just droned like a madman, which is great in the right situations, but in this case he really would have needed to make some more units earlier, so he can exercise some space control here, keep the turn from sieging up and everything. So and then Sen would have been fine as well, and this could have gone into a longer macro style game. But like this, that was just a lot of fun for MVP to keep Sen contained here, and having peace of mind all the time that he doesn't need to worry about anything but about building some bunkers here and positioning his units properly, and then just typing GG after 12, almost 13 minutes. Alright, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have some comments, or if there's any other games you'd like to see me cast, possibly from Blizzcon, I think there were some more really interesting games in there, and maybe I'll cast some of Demago's games. I really like that player. And I guess at some point I'll also bring you some Voitry games, because I really enjoy watching his stream, and I think he has a really interesting playstyle. So yeah. Then until next time, thanks for watching. Bye bye.